Hey, what's up, everybody? Fred Minnick here, and today I'm going to talk about one of my absolute favorite hobbies, fishing and bourbon. Now, you put those two together, you can have a really magical experience. Now, my background as a fisherman is I was a kid, I was fishing, always going out fishing. I had a pole, I go to my grandpa's pond. I would fish for crawdads in my creek. I would use those as bait sometimes. I was just always out fishing, and I loved it. I was never a trout fisherman. Still to this day, I'm not a fly fisherman. That's something I've always wanted to get into. But I love fishing for bass. I love fishing for catfish, and I don't do it as much as I used to. I absolutely miss it. But the one thing that I do now as a father is I try to expose my kids to fishing as much as possible. And schedules don't always line up, and it is what it is. But I try to take them out. Now, one of my kids loves fishing. The other one would just rather be, playing with dirt or something. So, and this question actually comes from my member community. So what I do is every month in my membership community, Club Marzipan, I have the members submit questions, and I pick a topic that is a little bit out of the norm. This month's topic was, what's something about bourbon and sports you would like to know. So my background is I used to be, a long time ago, I was a sports writer, and I didn't really enjoy it. It took my love away from watching sports. But I've never lost my passion and love for every sport. I can watch anything. I just love athletics. And I had this really great question from Andrew Ballas, and I hope I didn't butcher your name, Andrew. But this is from the membership community of Club Marzipan. He asked a question: bourbon recommendations to drink while fishing, boat booze, and back at camp after fishing, neat pours or cocktails. So I just find that to be a great question for anyone who is a fisherman, because you've got two aspects. One, you're out in the boat, right? So you're out in the boat, and you need something refreshing when you're in the boat. I mean, I'm all about sipping neat, but you're on the boat. That sun might be beating down on you. That's not flask time. You can have a flask there. You can be kicking back and having a flask if you want to, but I would highly recommend just taking whatever whiskey you have, putting it on ice while you're in the boat, because you want your focus to be completely on fishing. If you're sipping neat, your brain tends to really try to process what you are tasting, whereas if you put it on ice, it's a little bit more refreshing. You're focusing more on just what else are you doing. So with that being said, I really do like some of the RTDs that are out there, and my favorite ready to drink a whiskey cocktail is called Sipani, and it's made by a young woman who is a longtime friend of mine and just a super talented whiskey taster. Amanda Victoria is one of the most talented whiskey tasters you'll ever come across, and she started a company that's basically combining real honey with whiskey, and it's a brand called Sipony, Sipony. I find it very refreshing. Jacqueline and I, we did a review on that in a membership community a couple years ago. I have never stopped being a fan of that brand. So I find that to be incredibly refreshing. Still maintains the whiskey love while you're in the boat. However, if you are wanting to break away from whiskey, if you're wanting to get into another world, I do think a good ice cold beer would do the trick. And I'm a big lager fan. I like Pilsners. I'm not really into these the Coors Lights, the Bud Lights. That's not my style. If I'm going to drink an American beer, it's going to be Yingling. Otherwise, it's going to be a Belgian or a Czechoslovakian Pilsner. So that's my recommendation on the boat. Now, when you get off the boat and it's time to celebrate, you're wanting to be by a campfire, or you're on a deck smoking cigars or whatever, To me, there is no greater hanging out whiskey than something that's cask strength and full of flavor. And I could recommend the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection cask strengths all day long, the Parker's Heritage ones all day long. Let's be honest, those are impossible to get. And you may get them if you can bring them to the campfire or the after-hours celebration. Knock it out. Absolutely do that. But the two I'm going to recommend here, they're going to be not as easy to get as, say, Jim Beam White Label or Jack Daniels, but they're not going to be as hard to get as the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. And I'm a big fan of the Michter's Barrel Strength. I think Michter's Barrel Strength is a perfect one to have by the campfire or after any kind of celebration with your buddies, whether it's hunting, whether it's fishing. This to me just sips like a woo, we just got the biggest fish, or oh shit, that sumbitch got away. This just screams of that for me. And it really is something that I do take when I go fishing, and I will have it after we get off the boat. I mean, that is a legit pour that I have. I'll have it in my flask, or I'll have a bottle of it with me, and that's a perfect one to have. And it's full of flavor. It's very, it's got so much going on that but it's not over. It's got so much going on, but you're not going to be overly thinking about it like you would Weller. Like when I'm having William Lou Weller from the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, I want to be off in a corner. It's like poetry in my mouth. I'm just trying to think about it. This, you can still enjoy yourself, and it's very, very good, but it's not going to make you have an all stop and you have to like completely change your frame of thought about the world, which some of those bourbons do. So I think the Michter's Barrel Strength is right there for you. Probably a little easier to find, although becoming much harder to get, and their price is going up, is going to be Booker's. I find any Booker's is really this could be, in our household, we always have Booker's in the house. I've talked about this before, but my wife is an enormous Booker's fan. She loves Booker's so much. And if we don't have it in the house, I'm in trouble. So we always have this. So for me, it's a nightly pour when I'm allowed to have it. But it is something that I always have. But for me, it's also a celebratory drink of like, you caught a great fish, you had just had a good day at work or whatever. To me, it's that kind of like celebratory drink. There's a couple others out there that I like, but I want to kind of wrap my thoughts up on Booker's here. The reason why I also like Booker's for like an after fishing trip pour is, what are you normally eating, right? You're normally eating some kind of barbecue. Someone may actually fry up a fish, and I find that Booker's goes incredibly well with all the foods that would cause gout. So let's face it, if you are on a fishing expedition and you're eating afterwards, you're usually not eating healthy. You're eating all this horrible food for you, and Booker's will just add to the horribleness for your body. So compliment to compliment, it's tasty. It's tasty with fried. It's tasty with smoke. So those are my two favorite bourbons to have when I am going out fishing. If you're looking to, maybe a little bit more in the budget area, I don't think you can ever go wrong with Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. And the coincidental thing is that Evan Williams used to actually sponsor the Bassmasters Classic. So I would actually used to watch that and then see all the Evan Williams banners, everything going around. But so that's my thought on what is the best pairing for while you're in the boat and after you get off the boat. Now, in the membership community, I've got a whole lot more questions to answer. This one from Dave: can we get 64 bourbon bracket like the NCAA tournament? Robert Jennings asked, what stadium do you find has the best food and drinks? I'll be answering all of those in the Club Marzipan community. So if you'd like to take a look at that, go join the Club Marzipan group. I've got a link for it in the description. It's basically where I'm doing a lot of exclusive content, and I'm also doing some barrel picks. Upcoming barrel picks, we have some Jack Daniels, some Doc Swinsons, and a bunch from Barrel with the 2 L's. So a lot of good stuff coming down the pike here in Club Marzipan. But thank you for tuning in. Be safe out there. And remember, vodka sucks unless it's being used to clean up the murder of a dead cat. Cheers.